Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Developer Hangout for May 16th, 2018. I'm Will Hungerford, Organized Play Developer. With me is the succulent Will Pagani, Lead CID Developer.
Hello.
And Team Leader and Moral Compass of the development team.
Obviously.
William Oz Schoonover, Development Manager here at Privateer Press.
He keeps us all going with his inspirational words.
Yeah.
It's not the inspirational words.
So if you're just joining us, let me let you know what you're watching. We here at Privateer Press like to stream 3 times a week. We love it, actually.
Sometimes 4.
Sometimes 4. We have special ones every now and then, but our main schedule is every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Always at 10 a.m. Pacific starting. Tuesdays is the weekly Rumble, where we will play games, Company of Iron, War Machine and Hordes, sometimes our board games, no quarter games, and in the near future, Monster Apocalypse. Which we are all very excited about finally getting to play on stream, which we'll be doing for a while, I can promise you. Wednesdays is what you're watching right now, Developer Hangout. Usually the 3 of us, and we talk about what's new in the development of the various games. A lot of talk about the community integrated development cycles and where things are, like today's topic. And we hang out and also answer some of your questions in chat. Thursdays is the best stream we put on. It is Get Your Paint On with Dallas Kemp. It's Dallas painting and hobbying for a little bit over an hour while he talks to you about different painting and hobbying techniques and answers your questions. I've been talking about answering questions, so if you're catching us on YouTube later on, we are live streaming right now. You can come join us live, twitch.tv/privateerpress. We have a gigantic monitor in front of us with the chat slightly off to the side of the camera, so when you see us just looking like we're staring off into space, we're looking at the chat. Yeah. We'll occasionally say someone's username, their question, and we'll answer them. We tend to do that a lot, actually, during developer chat. We tend to answer people. So today's topic is we're going to talk about the final week of the Exemplar CID cycle, the changes we made, why they were made, things we're keeping an eye on, and then we have some news about what's going to happen after the CID cycle ends and when the next one starts up. So let's dive right into it, shall we?
Let's do it.
Lead CID developer William Pagani.
Hello. So our last update went out on May 14th, which was Monday. We will probably have another update out either much later today or tomorrow morning, would be my guess for the next update.
The final update.
The final update, yes. We will, I mean, unless something goes horribly, horribly wrong.
Sure.
There won't be another one. And this will let people test throughout the weekend, and then we will close it up on next Monday. So this update had a couple little tweaks in it. There wasn't anything huge in this one, which I think is kind of showing that we're really getting to a point where we like where we are. Krios 2, Grand Exemplar Krios.
Yep.
He got a couple tweaks. He really just had wording updates where he no longer makes a building tough.
You can't make the shrine tough anymore. Because that's weird.
So, yes, Paragon of Faith was changed to only affect warrior models, so take that, buildings, I guess.
Now, we have a question real fast in chat that kind of relates to this. Almighty Foon on Twitch says, how are you guys feeling with the new Krios 2, given the reps, the battle reps, you've been receiving?
In general, I'm pretty happy. I think Krios 2 has a place now, and I think we found a really good spot for him to sit in that is between Vindictus and like the High Reclaimers. In terms of army delivery and stuff, so I think we've got a pretty good spot going for him. And
he also has good separation between Krios 1 and Krios 3. Like when you look at the 3 Krioses, you've got vastly different play experiences, and I think he's just honestly way more interesting to play. You have a lot more active options every turn, a lot more choices to make, and he himself gets into the game more. I mean, Life Trader is a huge ability, and Krios 2 will murder anything he gets near.
And our goal was to improve him a slight bit and make him support his army in an interesting way that wasn't really in the faction. So,
and sort of just to touch on Krios here for a moment, there's a big, maybe not big, but there's a thread going on in CID about battle charged on Krios and what we think about that, what the community seems to think about that, and that is sort of a point of contention on Krios. So make sure you chime in on that thread if you like it or don't like it. Personally, I like it. I think it's cool. I think it opens up a lot of different options for Krios. And for the faction as a whole that they can't really run right now, especially in Exemplar Interdiction. So I think that's a very cool and working as intended type ability. But some people aren't a fan, so give us your feedback, let us know what you think, and
more importantly, play games and give us your feedback.
Sure.
Get some bad reps in.
Both. Give it a shot, play a battle report, report that battle report, tell us what you think about it.
Spam 10 devouts with them. Let us know what happens.
That's probably not a very good list.
Probably not.
Probably not.
You get to countercharge a bunch of defensive strike a bunch and then die.
Yeah.
But if you want to make a whole bunch of attacks on your opponent's turn, if you enjoy tapping clocks, play that list.
Yes. Yeah, so that's kind of what's going on with Krios at the moment. Exemplar Bastions, this is sort of a big one at the moment as well. It's our next on our list here. We changed defensive line back to set defense. And this has created some very interesting reactions that I was not really expecting. Where some people are now saying that this unit is worthless and that kind of thing. And to me, this is a very minor change. This isn't a huge change, to me personally. So if you do feel that way, that this unit is now, to use the community term, unplayable, let us know why.
Which you shouldn't use.
You shouldn't use, because you can put anything you want on the table. Yeah, you should always try and explain why something is not as powerful or as good as you want it to be, right?
In a constructive way.
Yeah, so, but yeah, explaining why you think defensive line was so much better than set defense. Like, obviously it was better, right? Like, you always get the +2 defense.
And you always have the no knockdown.
You always have the no knockdown, which just isn't there on set defense. But this is a change that is, I mean, on like a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 is a giant change and 1 is a tiny change, this is like a 2 or a 3 to me. Like, this is not super high up there in terms of a power level change. And it is definitely a nerf. Some people were having that argument. Like, is this a nerf? Yes.
And we didn't change the other things stuff. We have done to these guys.
Correct.
In CID.
Yes.
We just reverted that one change. It wasn't a complete rollback.
They're still PAL 13. They still have defensive strike. They still have all that kind of stuff. So definitely get in there and give us more feedback on Bastions if you feel super duper strongly about defensive line versus set defense.
So, and then the Bastion Seneschal is the next thing.
Well, before we get into that, I saw a really good question I want to go over. That is on a model that we didn't change that we can talk about real fast. Dragon Pup on Twitch says, while adding the Hierophant, let other casters, Hierophant got added to Exemplar Interdiction. We'll talk about that a little bit later. While adding the Hierophant, let other casters have an easier time in Exemplar Interdiction, especially Harbinger and Vindictus. Are we concerned the focus efficiency is going to push the Exemplar Warder to the sidelines more often than not? Would maybe giving the Warder reposition 3 be an option, let him do a little bit of personal work? So the question is the addition of the Hierophant going to obsolete the Warder?
It's definitely something that I am watching very closely because when we made this change, it was sort of a, well, we want to see what this does. So this change may not actually happen in the long run because we are seeing the Warder getting pushed out a lot. That could mean that we need to do something to the Warder to make it a more enticing choice, which is an option. It could also mean that we just pull the Hierophant back out of the theme force. So this is definitely something that could happen. And it is absolutely something that I'm going to be watching.
Sorry, let's move on to the Bastion Seneschal. Just, I saw a really good question and felt that we should
the Bastion Seneschal just went down a point. Right?
Yes. Well, actually went up a point.
Went up a
point. Sorry.
He went down a point at the beginning of the CID. We tweaked him around. We added a whole bunch of stuff. We brought that point back up. So, yeah, that's kind of what's going on with him at the moment.
Yeah, he's gotten other changes, and we decided
he picked up a Tactician for Exemplar, which is an incredibly powerful ability. He got a new drive. And then, of course, he still heals the Bastions and stuff. So
and basically, from the battle reports we were seeing and how people were using him, the point drop given what we gave him was too much. He is a 6-point solo by far when you compare to other 5-point, 6-point combat solos, and he's more than a combat solo with the amount of utility he brings. Honestly, he's free. In the theme force, you're just going to get him for 0 points anyway. But we still have to cost him appropriately, especially for games like Company of Iron. And in Company of Iron, that is definitely a 6-point solo.
Absolutely.
Holy hell.
Absolutely.
The Exemplar Errant Seneschal went down to cost 3 and had his command raised to 10. And this was another example of us looking at a combat solo and what it did in comparison to other combat solos, the types of utility it was bringing. And we realized the Exemplar Errant Seneschal does what we want it to do, but it's not crazy flashy. It's not like he does like insane things like, you know, have a Jack Marshall that he gives flank with all of their bastions like the Bastion Seneschal does, or provide a massive amount of utility. He's very niche, he's very specialized. And it's a good, solid model, but 4 points was probably a little bit too much. So we dropped it down 1 point. We feel 3's in the right spot. You're going to be spending your free solo benefit from the Theme Force on the more expensive models anyway, so making this guy a little bit more affordable just felt right. And we're keeping a close eye to make sure it's not too much.
I personally actually really like unyielding on Aaron, so I'm going to talk about that for a moment. It's something that gets
overlooked,
kind of a bad rap or an overlooked type thing. I think that arm 16 to 18 is a really important breakpoint, sort of like the 11 to 13 breakpoint for defense. Like that's probably the biggest swing in defense you can have. Is 11 to 13, because when you're mat 6 or even 7, that is some of the largest increase in percentage to miss that you can have. And that is something that I like about set defense on Bastions, is it gets you to that 13 breakpoint, which is really, really important. And defensive line, like same idea, that 13 is super powerful. And I think that 18 on infantry is also very powerful. A lot of POW 10 guns, Obviously not for this unyielding, but POW 10 guns, POW 10 non-charges, POW 10 charges even. Like it gets you these really important breakpoints in dice mechanics. So.
So we had a question come up that I want to bring up from Chris Bosaleo. It's your name now. We were talking about how we took tough away from the shrine. Bosaleo?
Beausoleil.
You're from Louisiana. You should know how to say that.
We don't know how to read.
Louisiana people do not know how to speak French properly.
We don't even know where we are half the time. Chris and B, we were talking about the shrine.
Chris.
We were talking about the shrine losing
Yes.
tough. And his question was: is the tough interaction between the Wraith engines and Terminus unintentional? If so, do we see that being changed? He just had a question because the Krios 2 interaction specifically being changed with the shrine.
So that is something that came up during the Battle Engine CID, and we decided that we were just not going to change Terminus because we didn't want to pull them into the CID and do all that kind of stuff. I doubt it'll ever get updated, honestly, and I don't honestly even think it's a problem.
And it's not the same as a building.
Yes, correct. Definitely.
Wraith engine, not a building. Pro tip. That's what I'm here
You
for.
should hear the Hungerford theory on what makes a structure and what doesn't.
Windows.
No, it's movable.
Oh no,
so
that's.
like-
I mean, there's also that, but it's also windows.
If you take a trailer and you take the wheels off of it, it's a building.
Correct.
Yeah.
If you can't move, you're a structure. If you can move, you're a battle engine. I mean, that's basically the rule, right? Also, windows.
Which also makes my car a battle engine.
If you took the horses and the wheels off the gun carriage, it would be a structure.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have windows?
No, it has firing slits. Those which are count as windows. Just like the.
But my car has windows.
But it has wheels, so it's a battle engine.
It's the windows versus the wheels.
Yeah. Windows are overridden by mobility.
There
It's
you
a,
go.
it's a long, complicated calculation. It involves windows
it's
and
beautiful.
wheels.
It's beautiful.
And other W's, probably.
Shifting stones are battle engines because they can teleport.
There we
So
go.
You cat first here.
Sure.
let's go over Elias Gade and Gravis
Yeah, let's do this.
at the
Yeah.
same time.
So this to me is sort of the biggest change in this update is Elias Gade no longer has Desperate Pace,
Yeah.
Which is a big deal. And it moved over to High Exemplar Gravis, who is another sort of supporty style solo. I say another. Gade is not really a supporty style solo.
No, he's supposed to be a killy type of solo.
Correct.
Yeah.
Gravis, on the other hand, is a supporty type solo. Who can also kill things in the late game if you want.
Yep.
So a lot of the times when we saw Gravis in games, and this goes all the way back into my Mark II experience, but also is shown a lot in the battle reports here in CID, is Gravis on the first couple turns will just kind of hang out in the middle of your army, middle to back of your army, because that 10-inch bubble is pretty big for
Doing the whole Brothers
the
Keeper
steady
thing.
stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Collecting those souls, getting all that kind of stuff. Desperate Pace really makes a lot of sense on him because in those turns he's not really being very active, and this lets him have something to do.
Yeah.
Whereas Gade can now advance deploy and get up there and attack and do all those kind of things that he wanted to do, and that the people in CID really wanted it to happen.
Yeah, it makes Gade much more of an active combatant and specialized.
Yeah, he's not supposed to be a
Yes.
buff bot.
Yeah.
Whereas Gravis is. And giving him Sniper introduced something kind of new to Exemplar, was the ability to just remove tough if you needed it. You know, Gade can make a number of attacks, it's not just one shot. I mean, he's basically kind of like a Deathstalker for Exemplar now.
A little bit, yeah.
Which we know that Deathstalkers are good, and especially when you get free ones that are characters that do more than a regular Deathstalker does.
And the other thing about Gravis and that Desperate Pace is he can easily keep up with the people that he's speeding up. He's on a horse.
Correct,
He's
yes.
fast.
Yeah.
He's not going to get left in the backfield as he's pushing people faster and then them eventually outrun him.
And that was a common complaint about the Man War Kovnik, is I think what you're referring to here, Oz, is that a Speed 4 model with Desperate Pace was not super great because he would get outrun by the models he was trying to Desperate Pace. Gade didn't really have that problem because he had Advanced Deploy, but
Yeah.
personally I liked the idea of Gade having to pick between like leading the troops and then murdering people,
Eh,
but a lot of other people didn't.
that's not his job.
there you
He's
go.
a murder guy.
We have 3 questions in Twitch I want to hit rapid fire real fast
Okay.
because they're on things that we're not covering.
Here we go.
Grimgoth says, thoughts on the Indictor at 14 points and 8-inch aura. Played against it pre-CID and thought it was in a good spot. Any fears of people spamming it? We have been watching the battle reports on it very closely, and we're actually happy with the changes that have been made.
Yep.
Then there's 2 that are kind of similar. One was, I've noticed that the new models in the CID have not changed much. This is from John Likes Dice. He says, I've noticed that the new models in the CID haven't changed much. Have you been seeing enough testing with them? Similarly, Striker911 says, how do you feel about the new caster? How do you feel the new caster is doing? Do you feel that she, is performing to the level you want? So, the
Truncate that one a moment there.
yeah, there was a lot going on. Also, John was messing with the chat the whole time, so he was just making the font do this. So I was trying to read it while the chat was just doing
It
this.
got real big and real small. That's why
okay.
our eyes were getting.
Yeah, I can read. So the question is basically, the new models have not changed as much as the old models have in this cycle. Are we happy with the new models in general?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we did a great job in our internal playtesting and getting all these guys into a place where we really like them. And now we're just kind of fine-tuning a little bit here. Sometimes we do realize that we have made a mistake in internal playtesting, and then we kind of redo a new model or create some rather large changes to a new model. I don't think this is one of those cases. I think Serenia is doing great. I think the Warder's doing great. The structure had a couple major tweaks in the beginning, but I think it's in a great spot right now. The Incinerator UA, fantastic.
Yep, that change in the many feet was a big deal.
Yep,
Yeah.
big one there. Hand of Silence as well, finding spots in lists, finding ideas there. So I think all 5 of our new releases are
And related to one of those questions, Joseph Jakul III says the current Indictor is crazy. If you feel that way, then give us feedback on the CID forums, supported hopefully by battles you've played where the Indictors did crazy things.
As I can speak Facebook, crazy is a good thing.
Yeah.
And like,
Sure.
he's like, this is
Well,
exciting.
no,
and
Joseph
I love it.
Joseph doesn't mean in game. Joseph means crazy, like party crazy. Like he saw an Indictor in a limo out of the sunroof with a tiny sequin cowboy hat, just wooing at the top of his lungs, going down the main street, nobody casting spells. Like that Indictor cray. That's what Joseph meant.
When he gets like
If
this,
it
that
isn't-
means that this Hangout's wrapping up, right?
Yeah, I
That's what
think
you
so.
know. No, we're not even close to wrapping up. We have so much more stuff to talk about. One more question to get in before we go on to the next changes. This has always been a big one, and it was really important to a lot of people. Bodyguard USA says, what are your thoughts on Harbinger's 12-inch command?
I think it's awesome.
Yeah, we're actually happy with it.
Yeah.
It's better, and with good reason.
I mean, when you increase stats, they usually do get better, yes. But I think in general, Harbinger's 12-inch command lets her play in a little more different styles of lists and lets her spread out her army a little bit more, which is something that's very important in this Steamlore packet. So,
Well, and in the transition from Mark II to Mark III, we took her feat and stuff from control to command because of its power level.
Yeah.
But then we didn't consider changing the command back then because we were doing so many things to so many models. And so this was a second chance to look at her and decide what the power level of that feat should be. And so making her command a little bit bigger changes that up.
Brandon Andrews here has a comment in our Facebook chat. Many people are saying that the Indictor, I don't even know what these words
Indictor.
mean anymore,
Indictor.
is overpowered in spell draft. Sweet.
Oh, if something is overpowered or underpowered in Caster Draft or Who's the Boss or either of the other formats, we don't care.
Caster Draft
That's fine.
is just for the fun of it. Like,
It just doesn't matter to me as a person.
yeah.
You matter to me as a person, though.
Yeah.
I love you.
Rip Snooty?
Rip.
Poor guy.
Hand of Silence
Yes.
went down to 6 points.
No, he
What?
didn't.
That's not a point. That says rat.
His rat went
His
to
rat
6.
went to 6 points is what I was trying to say, and I
Louisiana
don't know why.
reading.
I know he didn't go down 6 points because that would be crazy. I said he went down to 6 points because I was reading something else. Ignore me.
These fonts didn't change sizes all of a sudden as you were reading them, did they?
He went down to 6
that'd be
points.
weird.
Then he went back up to 7, and you never saw it get printed.
Sure. So he's rat 6 now. We really like where he's we really like where he's at and what he's doing.
I need to
But
stop.
we felt like he needed a little bit of a bump up.
Needs
And,
to stop drinking before every stream.
Rat 6 on that spray is pretty handy.
Yeah, and it's a boostable spray, of course, which is great. I'm just really happy with this guy. I just saw one of the rapid prototypes for the model.
Oh yeah, he's in the other room. He's pretty awesome.
And we have one other change that we made, which we
spicy.
talked about earlier.
Yeah.
We added the Hierophant to the Exemplar interdiction, and
Yes.
it's one that's being watched pretty carefully, for the reasons
Yeah.
we already stated.
Yeah.
It's important to us that the Warder does keep a spot, and that spot may not be hitting its mark right now, as I said just a moment ago, but it could also be the Hierophant just pushes it out entirely, which is not something that we want. right?
Yeah.
Like that's very much not a option that we want to even have in this Steam Force. So, yeah.
So we're gonna get to some more questions in a second, but we want to talk briefly about. We'll let Oz go over this. What's happening with CID? Because this is the last week of Exemplar. We've mentioned that there's going to be the special Ret CID, and then we're going to go do Tharn. We want to talk a little bit about when that you should expect to see the next thing.
Yeah, so this one wraps up on Monday. We put out an update, another update this week, more than likely, and then we give everybody until Monday to give us our feedback. And then we take a break. And last year,
We're going to do our jobs.
we had a CID during Lock and Load. And if you don't know what Lock and Load is, it's our convention that happens in a couple of weeks here in
Which,
Seattle.
by the way-
June 22nd. You can still You can still buy tickets
At
pplockandload.com.
yes.
I got that right, John, didn't I? Cool. Okay, so we tried to run a CID during Lock and Load last year, and we're out of the office basically the entire week for setup and all the convention stuff.
It was the third dumbest thing we've ever done.
And it's good to have the conversations with people at the show, but we miss out on a lot of the interaction with you guys on the forums. So we are going to take a slightly longer break than normal, and we are going to do the Retribution CID after Lock and Load. I'm not talking about a specific date, but soon after Lock and Load, that will be when that. So don't freak out if like in the next week or so you don't hear a start date or anything. It will be after Lock and Load, which starts on the 22nd of this month.
So what that means, though, is we're about to have a 1 month break where there's going to be no CID cycle. Because as soon as this ends, and then it's after Lock and Load, and then we've all got to come back in the office and get things ready. I mean, you're looking for at least a month without a CID cycle, which is a good thing. We've been doing a lot of back-to-back testing. We've been doing cycle after cycle after cycle after cycle, and there can be community fatigue from that. There can be burnout. We want to avoid that. So let's all just play War Machine for fun for a little bit and not worry about the stuff that's changing.
Let's do it.
So people can build lists for Lock and Load and know what they do.
Yeah.
That's dope.
Just roll dice, you know? Paul Johan says, what were the other two things we did that were dumber than having a CID during Lock and Load? I cannot say that on stream.
It also changes depending on
No, they are very set.
interpretation.
No.
Clothing.
Cheddar Caveman says Tharn with lots of extra letters.
That's
in there.
Chad.
Yeah, Tharn's coming.
Yep.
Down the
Chad, you're going to love the Tharn CID.
There's Tharn.
Yeah, if I remember correctly.
on the way.
So maybe I'm getting a little bit of trouble here. There will be another little break after Retribution.
There will be, yeah.
Where it won't be like the 1 week or 2 weeks that we've been seeing with these ones, and then Tharn will start.
And part of this is we're hitting con season, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, we're hitting con season, production schedules, all that kind of stuff.
yeah, and talking about developer hangouts coming up, you know, obviously we'll be talking about more of some of the new stuff coming out, like Monster Apocalypse, no doubt. But also just get ready for a lot of like convention talk and convention follow-ups coming from us as we get back from Lock and Load, leading up to Lock and Load, talking about the events we'll be hosting there, going into Gen Con, coming back from Gen Con. You know, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things you've seen on this show than just CID, because we're not going to have CID for a month.
We're also probably going to miss 1 or 2 of these streams.
And if anyone's been to a Lock and Load before or watched the streams from Lock and Load, they know there's all kinds of things to talk about after Lock and Load.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we'll be talking a lot about Retribution and Tharn at Lock and Load.
Yeah, last year Lock and Load.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
We previewed all the Theme Force changes that we were thinking about doing with mercenaries being added and all that kind of stuff, well before we did any of that stuff publicly, like testing-wise. So it's a strong probability that we'll talk about things that are upcoming in CID with you guys if you are at Lock and Load.
Seanster 3000 says, what is after the Tharn CID? Merpandas. And we have not announced what comes after Merpandas.
The future.
We're going to get to some questions here before we close things out.
John, if you could scroll up the Twitch chat for just a moment, I have a couple questions I want to hit over there.
We're going to scroll up, look at some of the questions we missed, and we're going to answer some of yours. If you have any questions, start asking them now. We'll probably be on for about another 5-6 minutes.
Too far. There we go. Calcifer ITA asks, do you see Harbinger as an exemplar interdiction caster, since she has to play with Healing Source because of a lot of martyrdom due to, oh, there it goes, due to victim stats, which I love that phrase, by the way. But one, it means something different to every person, and two, I love hearing it in conversation because it's so hilarious.
Doesn't mean anything.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't mean anything, but it's great. Yeah. Did you consider to give Rovan, who is the best suited, a healing mechanic? Thanks, guys, for the good work. Thank you. We appreciate the compliment. At least I do. But yes, I do see Harbinger as an exemplar interdiction caster. I think she does a great job with basically all of the different infantry available in the faction. I think she can play in a wide variety of lists. And specifically in exemplar interdiction, I think she does very, very well with the medium-based stuff, where you don't necessarily have to martyrdom quite as much, which is one of the reasons why I don't think you necessarily have to have that healing source with her here. Also, as someone who has played against an incredibly large amount of Harbinger and played with an incredibly large amount of Harbinger back when I was making fun of Career, back in my good old days, like 5 years ago.
You mean the Harbinger Lucant Super Series you ran?
That was great. That was great.
Yeah.
So,
but just to answer the question, I don't think Harbinger necessarily has to have a healing mechanic tied to a list. She doesn't have to take a Hierophant. She doesn't have to take a Vessel of Judgment, anything like that.
She has 10 focus as
She
a
has
healing
10
mechanic.
focus. She can eat it. You can have shield guards. You can have spell ward, all that kind of stuff to keep you safe. So those tools are there.
This next question I want to do.
Sure.
So this is from
Ziermegeist.
Zymergist, which means person who makes beer.
A beer person.
Ziermegeist.
So their question is, when testing in CID, do we have any tips on the best way to look past faction bias? For example, when the RET CID happens, they want to avoid skewing their stuff because of favoritism. One of the things that I would suggest is find someone you're comfortable with trading armies with.
Yes.
If you feel like you're going to be too just on board with making your faction better, because faction bias, it exists, it's everywhere.
Blindwater's super dope now, and it's not like I had anything to do with them being great.
So just one of the strongest ways to combat that is to consider what it's like to play against those models.
Yes.
And if you're always playing with your own models, then that doesn't happen. So try something else out that you're comfortable with. Don't like jump into a new faction that you've never played before and you don't know anything about. But consider just playing against like build your own army and then give it to somebody else and then play a different faction against it and see how it feels to get destroyed by the overpowered stuff that everyone that's not in your faction is complaining about.
Yes.
This is a question related to organized play. Pat Villada Jr. says, sorry, not CID, but will the alternate history casters be added to the card database like using printed cards? So for those of you who missed it, we re-released the alternate history casters, and there are 3 missing right now. There's Convergence, Grimkin, and Minions. I finished designing those, and those are going to be released with all of them as part of Summer Rampage, the organized play event coming up. When Summer Rampage releases, those 3 and then the ones that are already in War Room will be part of the rules document, the PDF that comes out, so you'll be able to print them out then. Until then, they're going to be on War Room only as just a preview, basically.
Really, really relevant question. iWarGame says, does Oz DJ, he knows that my shirt has a mixer on it. Not in any real way, but I love audio equipment and t-shirts with audio equipment on them.
Me too.
Yeah.
But except for I know what I'm doing with them.
Sure, I know what I'm doing with them too. I did work in radio, but anytime I see a t-shirt with audio equipment on it, I have to buy it.
Dylan Wilson from Facebook asks, will Gravis get +1 arm to stay in line with Avengers? That's probably unlikely. And I think the idea of him having to stay in line with Avengers is a little off point. He may have the Avenger keyword, but he's not using the same equipment they are.
His armor's slightly different. Yeah,
he's much older than a lot of these people that are fighting. Like, he's an old man. So I think it's pretty unlikely that he ends up getting the strength and armor change that Avengers had.
So another one related to the alternate history casters I want to hit real fast. Tommy Bauer says, can you see these alternate history casters being added to tournament legality in the future? No. They are designed with the intent that they would never be tournament legal. Some of them do really insane things. They are purely for narrative, casual, for funsy play. If you put down your Vinter and your Protectorate Vlad and play a 75-point steamroller game using them, you're kind of doing it wrong. Like, talk out something with your opponent, play uneven army points, have fun with them.
Yeah.
They're not, if you just play a straight head-to-head, tournament war machine, they're, Mage Blight came back. Mage Blight cannot exist in Mark III, by the way. That spell is not okay. It was okay in Mark I.
For to lols.
Huh?
I said TLDR for to lols.
Yeah.
Yeah, those guys were created back in 2010 for a special invitational, and they were just wacky. Like, what would happen if we just made these crazy things?
The updates I made added a couple new things. Like, there's a couple new spells and new abilities, but like overall, no. Mage Blight. The Void Summon spell I gave Alexia, like, that can't be real. It just makes Void Spirits.
Yeah.
Anyway.
ForceMark90 asks, back in week 1, I think, someone suggested Gunfighter for Gay to enable quick work more. Did this get dismissed or question mark? It didn't get dismissed. We talked it over, and we feel that his quick work is working fine as it is now. We don't necessarily want this guy going full Raven on people. So, yeah.
Yep. All right, well, it looks like we got to most of the questions we wanted to hit, and we have just made it to the 30-minute mark. We have a lot of people out there are at lunch, so we'll let you get back to eat and do what you're going on. Come check us out tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific. Get your paint on with Dallas. John, do you know what Dallas is painting tomorrow, or is it a secret?
I know what Dallas is painting.
It's gonna be dope.
It's a secret?
I think Gearbox, if he's still in here, is going to be very interested in it.
It was a secret, but I can tell you, unless he changes it, because he's allowed to do that,
yes.
he is going to be painting his G-Tanks from Guard.
Oh, some Monpok.
Yeah.
So those of you interested in Monster Apocalypse, we got some Monpok painting, hopefully, happening tomorrow. If you show up tomorrow and he's painting Shifting Stones, sorry. This is a disclaimer that anything can happen at any time. So if he's just, that's it.
What if he's painting shifting stones in his guard color scheme?
Oh, metallic orange
What
guard.
if he's taken G-Tank bodies and put shifting stones on top of them?
That would be beautiful.
No turret.
Yeah. But 10 a.m. Pacific, and as always, join us every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, always at 10 a.m. Pacific. Tuesday's Weekly Rumble, where we play games. Wednesday, you're watching it right now, Developer Hangout, where we talk about things happening in the game. Thursdays, get your paint on. We'll answer your questions.
Get your paint
We love you. We love talking to you. And we're going to say goodbye now. By the way, don't forget one last thing. Make sure you come see us and have your own Developer Hangout in person with us, in our faces.
At Privateer Press.
At private.
You don't have to get in our faces.
No, the only way I can communicate and understand that you're a real person is if you get in my face and yell. So, Privateer Press, Lock and Load, pplockandload.com. And the last thing I want to mention is I think we're about to run out of time on the Runeball Wizard for Mini Crate. John, what's the last date for the subscription on that?
May 19th, so Saturday.
Yeah,
So
it's on
Saturday.
the screen right now.
Saturday.
You have a couple more days.
What?
Saturday.
What happened?
Somebody's about to YouTube clip that. So if we can get the Pagani, Saturday.
Well, it was like a high school musical or like a lower school musical I was in when I was a kid. All right.
You were in choir?
I'm gonna throw this out there. You don't have to always verbalize every thought you ever have.
Incorrect.
Either of you.
Incorrect. Mini Crate. It's
Mini-crate.
mini-crate.com. You have Saturday till Saturday. Get the Runeball Wizard. Make sure you pick it up. It's super cool. Come see us at Lock and Load. Yell at Oz. Get right here.